let's go back down the row again. No, there's a couple things that were implied that I want to make sure are clear. It's not how hard you work for the AIA necessarily. You can become a fellow if you've never been to an AIA meeting in your whole life. It's how you serve the profession in general. So a lot of people think that, you know, I wasn't president of the AIA and I wasn't in the national board, so I could never be a fellow. That's one way of getting it. And if you could be more clear on the objects next, John, on the specific objects, you know, in order, so that everyone's kind of clear on where they might fit in. But it's sort of a misconception that service to the AIA is the only way to become a fellow. That's not true.
I think in the past, in the history, we've looked at basically three things. One is we always used to think that if you had a double life, you know, you're an expert in two, and they're kind of equal, you can never get elevated. And just recently we found that to be incorrect. We also found that if you're an expert in something, if you haven't done something here that's socially oriented or surface, then this may move down to a fence. Or if you're on the fence, this could tip you over the fence. So having some kind of social orientation where you have helped the community or the AIA or the profession in some way is a positive thing. Not the reason you get better, but it can help tip the scale. Because we're looking for that influential element where you have influenced other people. Hopefully in the profession, but also it could be beyond the profession. It could be clients. It could be, I don't know, the local school. I can remember when you were talking, right? We had an architect who was, no name, who was president of the business group. Wow, an architect president of the business group. Just think of the power that person had, right? So we kind of asked him, what did he do? And we got a mumbled answer. Lost opportunity. Clearly could have done one thing, right? That would have benefited even not the profession, you know, the community. And he hadn't done it. So obviously it was more of a business reason that he was share rather than any greater reason. Business by that I mean by being his own business. So I think it's very critical to understand the clarity that one's needed and the narrowness to a certain extent that one needs. You know, when I got back to practice, I can remember we used to say, two people from the same firm going at the same time, never. We've now been successful, I think, 3 years in a row with two people from the same office. In fact, one case we were successful when two directors of design from the same office got it the same year. And the reason was we were able to split them up, clarify what each responsibility was, and not be using the same projects to demonstrate their success story, to demonstrate what they had achieved. I can remember when two partners in a firm submitted. Quite a well-known firm. To us, it would have been automatic. We read their letters of reasons or why they wanted to be a fellow. The two letters were identical. Everybody on the committee said, no. Come on, there's no differentiation here. I mean, they're all saying the same thing with the same project. But somewhere in this letter there was two words that changed them. One said they were the managing partner and the other said they were the design partner. So now he had a reason why very easily those two people could come at the same time because they could approach the success of the projects differently. When I can remember Marv came up, we were looking at, you know, why does Gensler do such great work? And the reason was because of the management team behind them, not because of the designer. Come on, designer out there selling something. Not going to make great architecture. It's a team approach. And he understands that. You have to have a great office partner there that supports that team approach. We've actually come to some quite well designed offices, good design offices, where the managing partner was the one that went up first, not the design partner. Again, for the same reason. You know, what was the firm producing? It was producing quality, and that quality has a support system, and behind that support system has some clarity of somebody guiding the guiding force. So it's really, I think, a matter of being very, very clear and to a certain extent quite narrow in what you're trying to achieve, not being very broad and being very specific. Most of the first time we see the summary page, not the 35 words. That's the most difficult thing in the world. No architect in the world I know can summarize what they're about in 35 words, right? Because they try to include, oh, I'm this, that, this, that, and then after that, there's still this, that, and that. In other words, they're everything. And of course, they're not. But in the summary page, oh, that's where we find that most architects describe their life story. And it's not about your life story. It's about what are you excelling in and affecting somebody else positively, either by the fact they're adopting what you're doing or by the fact that they see that there's value in what you're doing, or you're affecting the professional society.
That is, oh, go ahead, Rob.
I was just going to piggyback on something that John said. There was actually a time when we were sitting in the convocation dinner, which is a big dinner, the black tie dinner they have the day after the investiture. And they put a picture up of each person, and something happens, and then they ask you to hold your applause, but spontaneous applause breaks out as each one comes up from the table of family and friends that are there. And this one picture came up with 3 people in the picture. And people kind of chuckled. They applauded when they read the first name. And some minutes later, the same photo came up with 3 pictures. They read the second name, and people were now wildly applauding. And then, down near the end, the same picture came up a 3rd time. And they stopped the tape at that point, and they said, we need to explain this. When this firm, when these 3 partners, founding partners of these firms, they submitted at the same time individual packets, and they said, there's a caveat to our submittal. If all 3 of us are not selected, any of us that is will decline, because this is a team effort. We did it together. It was an indispensable team effort. And to award one of us and not all of us would not recognize that we are a collective. And they all 3 got it. And it was a great moment, I think, for AIA.